Welcome to my PowerPoint on decks in Balatro. So there are 15 decks in Balatro that all offer relatively different playstyles. Of course, there are some that are more similar than others, and then there are some that are significantly different than others. We get to start with the blue deck and the red deck, the two most basic decks in the entire game. Blue deck gives +1 hand. This is actually, just good. It provides a pretty significant amount of money in the run if you're playing, 8 antes that have three blinds each, right? That's 24 rounds that you're going to go through. That's $24 if you're saving just one extra hand from this blue deck. That actually can add up, right? Especially in the early game, right? Getting this extra money is pretty valuable. That being said, I think that, I don't think there's anything special about blue deck or necessarily red deck for, winning. I don't think they're that much better or worse than any deck. They're just the exact standard, right? Every deck is basically just comparing itself to red or blue deck, in my opinion, and I think that's fine, right? These are the basic tutorial decks, right? They teach you how to play the game. They don't have anything special or flashy going on, but hey, +1 hand, +1 discard's pretty nice. Red deck, of course, does give +1 discard. This is my favorite deck by far. I just like discarding. I've talked about it before. Discarding is I prefer discards. They're fun to play with, in my opinion. And although you do get +1 hand for blue deck, that is going from 4 to 5, right? With red deck, if you're past blue stake, then you're going from 3 to 4, 4 to 3 with red deck, or 3 to 2 with every other deck. So +1 discard is a larger increase, percentage-wise of your resources than +1 hand. I know it doesn't really sound like that, but it does work out that way, especially if there are so many jokers in this game that benefit from discards, right? And they just become worse when you go into higher stakes. Red deck does kind of prevent that a little bit, and that's why I like playing with red deck, because it makes it feel like I can play with more jokers, because I'm not getting screwed over playing at higher stakes because of that one blue stake that makes you lose 1 discard. And that's, I don't know. I do think that both of these decks are completely, of course I think every deck is completely viable, right? Even the worst one, which we'll get to, I think they're completely viable and you can win on, but they don't offer any extra benefits to help you win in comparison to some of the others, is kind of how I'm getting at. And we have green deck and yellow deck. Green deck has no interest, but you gain $2 per hand and $1 per discard instead of $1 per hand and no dollars per discard. This is actually really strong. It's one of the best decks, or arguably it probably is the best deck at money gain, right? Money generation. Like I said, with blue deck, right? You're having so many hands and so many stakes that you're going through. Green deck gives you more money. Wow. Green deck is very interesting. It makes it so you need to have less money generator jokers, or you can't pick up seed money or anything like that because there's no interest, but it really rewards picking up handy or nacho tong or wasteful or recyclomancy or having a drunkard or even having a burglar, right? Burglar, getting +3 hands minus and then no discards, that's, you gain $6 and then you lose $2 because the discards are $1 each. That's pretty much worth it, right? Of course, you do have to play a hand to win, so technically you gain $4, right? But you're getting more money. Getting extra hands and extra discards is it's fun. And I've had green deck where I've had handy, nacho tong, wasteful, recyclomancy. Then I've had burglar with it, right? So I picked up the burglar last, obviously. I didn't pick it up before I picked up the vouchers. But I was getting so much money throughout that run that it felt like I had an extra joker. It effectively felt like I had an extra joker because I was making so much money. And that's really nice. I think green deck arguably is one of the better decks, in my opinion. It has a bit of a learning curve, of course, right? Because other decks, if you use all your hands to try and get mail-in rebate value, oh yeah, that's not as big of a deal. But with green deck, it kind of hurts a little more, and it makes money jokers a little less efficient. But yeah, I mean, it's a different playstyle, right? The decks offer different playstyles, and that's pretty good. Please don't pick up seed money, guys. I have to point this out. I mentioned someone In my my vouchers video, someone left in a comment, "Oh, I picked up seed money on my green deck and I lost my run because." And it was really funny, so I have to mention this. A yellow deck has you start with an additional 10 extra dollars. This is like actually really good. I know a lot of people might undervalue it, but the way that I've been playing it is I try to go for like a really, really powerful first or second shop, right? I've had times where I'll even skip the small blind because the second shop will give you more money because, well, the small blind doesn't give you any money, and the first shop you have guaranteed has a buffoon pack. I don't know if you guys know this, but it guaranteed has a buffoon pack, which means sometimes skipping the small blind, if you have, you know, a good reason, or if you're playing yellow deck, to then go onto the big blind will get you more money, and then you have that guaranteed buffoon pack to get really strong. And that's how you really play it, right? You look for that first or second shop to have a really strong blowout, and then you're like, hey, I have like 5 jokers, and it's literally still ante-1. Then, well, probably not 5, you probably have 3, maybe 4. But still, 3, maybe 4 jokers, it's still ante-1, and then you just like, hey, now I just get to coast and gain money, and then get to scale and all this, and it's really fun. Yellow deck is definitely not the easiest to play with, right? If you miss on your first or second shop, you're kind of screwed. It doesn't have any additional benefits aside from basically that first or second shop compared to any other deck, but that's fine, right? It does its job. You're really powerful early, which helps you transition into being powerful later in the game. Winning early is the most important part of Balatro, right? Having a strong early game means you can actually play into the late game. Late game doesn't matter if your early game is bad and you lose, right? And that's why... Oh my gosh, there's black deck! Oh my gosh, it's black deck! I'll get to it. Magic deck starts the run with 2 Fools and a Crystal Ball voucher. Typically, the best way to work with this is to get like a really good planet early, right? You get a Saturn, and then you can use both Fools on the Saturns. You could get like a Hermit, right? And get a bunch of money. I guess you could like do like I don't know. I guess you could use, I don't even know, like a World and turn your entire deck into Spades. You could do it. It's not great, but whenever I'm playing Magic deck, typically I'm looking to get like a Jupiter or a Saturn, or sometimes I've had a run where I got Neptune early, and I was playing straight flushes, and like, dude, because I got 3 levels in Neptune super early, it just carried my entire run. And yeah, Crystal Ball, of course, gives you 1 extra consumable slot, so it can be, it's still very powerful even after you've gotten that, initial like burst of your Fools, you still have a free Crystal Ball voucher, which also makes it so you're more likely to get Omen Globe. And Omen Globe, of course, makes it so spectral cards can show up, and that can be really fun too. Magic deck is definitely, I'd say it's like one of my more enjoyable decks, personally. It's just fun to play with, and it does feel a little skill testy sometimes. Sometimes, you know, you're like, hey, do I choose between a straight or do I choose between a Hermit? And that can matter, right? Depending on what you have in your shop, depending on what, you know, how many, like, what your boss is, depending on so many factors that you can actually make, like, wrong decisions with this deck. And a lot of decks in the game don't really feel like they have a wrong decision that you can make, mainly because they don't give decisions in the same way Magic deck does. Then, oh boy, there is black deck. This is... yeah, I'm at... Black deck gives +1 Joker slot and -1 hand. This is considered to be the worst deck by a lot of people, and I am inclined to agree. I'm struggling to play on this one. Yeah, I can beat white at stake, and I can beat, you know, I don't even remember what all the stakes are in order. I'm gonna be honest with you. I can beat our lower stakes, right? But I'm on purple stake on black deck, and I just can't beat it, right? Purple stake is like, I don't know what it is. I can't do it. I think I'm just, guys, I might be bad at the game. I guess I'm just really bad or something. So here's the thing. Mine, or +1 Joker slot is amazing in later antes, right? Because, well, in the early antes, it doesn't really matter that much because you're not likely to find 6 good Jokers that really matter. So losing 1 hand in the early game is significant. It's money that you're losing. You know, we already talked about how +1 hand for blue deck is an additional like $20 throughout the game. So you're losing a good amount of money early. For what? A win more condition? +1 Joker slot from Black Deck is effectively win more, right? Because if you're making it to the end game anyway, where the +1 Joker matters, you've probably already won. A lot of the times I'll be winning on this deck, I mean, I'll go for Photo Chad, right? And Photo Chad kind of is only a 2 Joker combo that you can just fill in with whatever else you need. And that makes it so the +1 Joker slot is a lot less useful. But losing -1 hand made it so I had less money to get to that position, and it made it harder to win to get to that position. This is what I was talking about with the yellow deck, right? Being strong early lets you get to the late game. So if you're really weak early, then guys, it's hard to get to the upside of Black Deck. And I'm gonna be so real with you, I don't even think Black Deck is that good in like the endless mode, right? Yeah, +1 Joker slot is of course nice, right? But still losing out on -1 hand can matter a lot. You're still losing a significant amount of money throughout the run. And there's a lot of scenarios where you needed that one hand to win, even in endless. So losing out on it, it's quite bad. Black Deck does feel like a challenge deck, which is kind of interesting. Like, it's supposed to be harder, and I that's fun, right? It is fun to play with, but gosh, am I just bad at it? I can't beat Purple's take on it, dude. I can't. Oh, man. Then we get to Abandoned Deck. Abandoned Deck has no face cards, making your total cards go from 4 or down to 40 from 52. This is like so awesome to play with. I'm not gonna lie. Face card builds can be really fun, right? Everyone loves Photo Chad, blah blah blah. But Photo Chad is a little polarizing, in my opinion. If you do find it, you're likely to win your run. Abandoned Deck can't use Photo Chad, so you're more about like having really powerful poker hands because they're always going to be more consistent because there's less cards. Straight builds galore. That's how this deck feels. You already, I mean, you can just go for like, you go for 9 through 4 instead of 10 through 5. You just shift it down a little bit, so then like the 10 kind of can sometimes help, and the 3 can sometimes help, rather than being like, okay, I'm playing 10 through 5, where Jack sometimes helps, but you don't have Jacks in this. That's how I like to play straights. I kind of like to look for, 10 through 5s normally. Of course, like I said, 9 through 4s for this, because it gives you so much leeway. In regular decks, 9, 8, 7, 6 are going to be scored every single time that you play a straight. If you are going for that, of course, if you're going for ace highs or ace lows, then it's a little different. I do have to admit, but that's the most consistent way to get a straight, is to have 10 be your top end and 5 be your low end, and then you have 9, 8, 7, 6 be the center of your straight, and you'll get in. It makes playing for straight so much easier when you go for that line. And Abandoned Deck, while it does shift it a little bit, like I said, 9s through 4s, it's amazing. It's still really fun to play. You can get 4 of a kinds more consistently. You can get 3 of a kind, full house, etc. more consistently because there's less cards, and it's fun. I don't know. It just makes it really fun and makes it a lot easier to get the poker hand you want. Ghost Deck makes it so spectral cards appear in the shop and you start with a Hex. This is like really good, right? If you get a good target with Hex. I had a run where I'm not joking. Shop 1, I find a baseball card, and I can afford it, right? Because I got an Immolate from my shop. I love it. I sold my Hex to get the money. I bought the Immolate. I opened an Arcana pack. I used the Immolate. I got shitload of money. I bought a baseball card, and it was so fun. The Hex, yeah, you can use the Hex, right? But you can also just sell it for an influx of cash, which I don't think many people are doing. Whenever I see people play the run, I don't see that often. Yeah, it's not always right. There are some times where it's just way better, but selling Hex when you get like a really good spectral card in your first shop is noticeably powerful. Immolate is amazing in your first couple shops, and Immolate is good for almost every stage of the game, aside from like full on deck fixed ultra late game where it doesn't help at all and like $20 doesn't matter. That's like, so like throughout like the first like 6 antes, maybe even 7, Immolate is arguably the best spectral card. I'm getting off track. The spectral cards can be quite powerful, right? And having them appear in the shop so you can hold them gives them a lot more flexibility than you would get normally from getting them from packs, right? So if you get, say, I don't know, Cryptid, then you can have this one legendary Joker that people might know about. His name is Perkio. Yeah, you copy cryptids with Perkio, and then you have Baron, Mine, Blueprint, Brainstorm, etc., right? You get a billion cryptids from your Barons and your Perkios and your Brainstorms, and then you're like, okay, well, I just decided I want the run to be over. Boom, Red Seal, Steel King, have 100 of them in your hand because of cryptids, and you try to go for Nanymph, and it's fun, right? This is like Ghost deck, not Spectral deck. Ghost deck is how people go for that, right? Because it's the easiest way to get a cryptid in your consumable slot. You can get it from like Sixth Sense or Seance, you can do it, but yeah, to call that easy is definitely not the case. It's random, it's less likely, and you can only have so many sixes and so many, I mean, yeah, if you're playing a straight flush build, I guess, but it's not consistent, in my opinion, and Ghost deck makes it way easier. Then there's Zodiac deck and Checker deck. Zodiac deck starts with a Planet, Tarot Merchant, and Overstock Voucher. This is a very funny deck, and you'd think you'd actually see less Jokers because you got these vouchers, but because of the fact that you have the Overstock Voucher, it's actually about the same. And, well, if it's about the same, that means you just got 3 vouchers for free. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Having +1 like slot in your shop, that's pretty nice. It's actually slightly better. I was reading a Reddit thread about how the math works out. On average, if you're playing any other deck aside from Zodiac, or not maybe any other, if you're playing a regular deck, like say just Red deck or whatever, you'll see about on average 1.4 Jokers per shop before you include, like, just if you see 2 cards, right? But with Zodiac deck, because you have Overstock, even though you have Planet and Tarot, it actually increases the odds to 1.5 Joker per shop on average, which it is negligible and doesn't necessarily matter, but it effectively makes it so there is no downside to playing Zodiac deck, which a lot of people think there is. So all it is you're just playing a deck that has an Overstock voucher. That's cool. That's fun. It's fun to play with. I have to admit it. Guys, sometimes things that are actually quite strong are just fun. It's crazy, I know. Then there's Checker deck. Checker deck turns your entire deck into 26 spades and 26 hearts. 2 of each card. Or 2 of each. Yeah, right? This is the flush player's, like, it's the flush player's dream. If flush is your favorite hand, you love Checker deck. It's pretty good. If you're playing a straight flush build, Checker deck, of course, makes it easier as well. It's just pretty strong. I'm not gonna lie. It doesn't need to do anything else, right? It just makes your deck all into 2 suits, and that's fun. It does get countered by boss blinds a little more likely than some other decks, right? Because it's one of the few that has a built-in condition that can be countered by a boss blind, right? Goad is spade and window is hearts? I could be wrong about that. I could be actually very wrong. I think window might be diamonds. Anyway, there's 2 boss blinds that disable spades and hearts, right? So there is that. Of course, Ox, right? If you hit flushes too many times, it could, lose all your money, but yeah, Checker deck, it's just fun to play with. I don't really have much more to say about it. It's one of my least played decks, but that's because I don't really care to play the same build every game. And, some people do. Some people really like playing flushes, and I get it, right? There are some really fun flush Jokers, especially because it is hearts, so you can get Bloodstone. So there is that, but well, let's move on. Okay, so we have 3 on here because, well, there's 5 left, and I'd rather have a full slide to talk about Plasmid, let's be real. Nebula deck. You start with a Telescope and -1 consumable slot. It's actually, like, really strong to get a Telescope, like, for free this early. It's one of, if not the best voucher anyway, and, like, it's strong, don't get me wrong, but you do have to be a little careful. It makes purple and blue seals a lot worse, and, like, purple and blue seals are really good. So yeah, if you do pick up, like, an Omen Globe, it can, offset it a little bit. Or not Omen Globe, sorry. A Crystal Ball can offset a little bit by getting +1 consumable slot, so you have 2, which is the normal amount, but you do have to be careful. Otherwise, though, Nebula deck is just... I think, like, I'm gonna be honest, I feel like it's a little bit of a... I feel like it's better than a quote-unquote stock deck, right? Because getting a Telescope really early is super powerful. Getting guaranteed planet that you want based on the poker hand that you've played the most is really nice. You can manipulate it really early, even in like just your first blind, right? You can manipulate to get like a straight or a 3 of a kind or a full house, etc. in your first small blind if you really want, and then the first shop might have a Celestial pack. You can get it there, and hey, now I instantly first shop have a level in the poker hand I want, and it can go crazy from there. It's kind of like Magic Deck in a way where it helps get a lot of early levels that you can, transition your deck into, but it does it in a different way, in a arguably less fun way, if I had to admit, because you lose one consumable slot, whereas with Magic Deck you actually gain one. But Telescope's already such a powerful voucher that having it for free, yeah, you probably should be a little worse. Painted Deck gives -1 Joker slot and +2 hand size. As I said with Black Deck, typically if you're making it to the later antes, you're gonna win anyway. So like, losing 1 Joker slot really isn't that big of a deal, especially if you consider like, there are noticeable differences between playing for Jokers and playing for poker hands. Painted Deck, because it gives you +2 hand size, lets you play for poker hands. You can play for straights, straight flush, 4 of a kind, 5 of a kind, flush 5, flush house, full house, etc., right? Because you have way more cards that you're actually able to access. And that means that getting like planets and all that can just win you the game. You don't need as many Jokers to win. There's obviously the elephant in the room, Photo Chad, where, hey, 2 Joker combo already wins anyway, so if you just get that, then who cares, right? You're going to win your 8 antes anyway, and that just makes it really good. Painted Deck is the exact opposite of Black Deck, or not exact opposite, but it is the opposite of Black Deck, and it's better. Black Deck sucks, Painted Deck is pretty good. What does that say about how powerful Jokers are in this game? It really says that sometimes, it doesn't matter to have 5. Sometimes you can win with 2 Jokers, or 3, or 4, and some people really overvalue Jokers compared to planets, in my opinion. Planets are very consistent, and just good. They're pretty good. Painted Deck really does show that. Anaglyph Deck gives a double tag whenever you beat the boss blind. This is like amazing for getting unlocks. You can hit negative tag to get negative on 1 billion Jokers for your gold stake run. You can hit the double your money tag to get $400 so you can unlock Satellite. And that's kind of all the best stuff you can do with it. I mean, you could like high roll an orbital with your Anaglyph deck, so the orbital will give you like, you have like 4 double tags, and the orbital will give you +12 because it's +3 base to a random poker hand, and then that poker hand could be one that you want, right? Of course, that's random and not that good because, more often than not, it's not going to be what you want, but you can do it. I don't really enjoy playing Anaglyph Deck, aside from, collection, like going for collection stuff. That's kind of, yeah, but you can do it. It does have its use case. It's really, really good for getting gold stickers to complete Completionist ++. It's the best deck for it, in my opinion. So, yeah, but I don't know, man. Like, I think Anaglyph Deck is just, it's just average. I don't think that it's stronger or weaker than any other deck, aside from, like, the scenario I portrayed, but like, if you're just trying to win your 8 antes because you're just trying to, like, grind out some gold stake, then it's probably not the best deck, in my opinion. But if you're trying to get, your Completionist ++, that's where you play. Alright, so last, and very certainly not least, we have Erratic Deck and Plasma Deck. Erratic Deck gives a random distribution of cards. This is actually really, really funny for going for certain builds. There's a known seed that is the entire deck is all 10 of spades, and it's really funny to watch. You can watch Raffle's video on it. It's probably not even hard to find. It's really fun. He gets like ante 39 or something. It's crazy. Or you could just keep resetting for whatever you want. I've had my friend, he's like, oh yeah, I just reset it and I got like 20 queens, and he went for Shoot the Moon, and yeah, it was really funny. It wasn't amazing. Shoot the Moon isn't the best, but it was still really funny to go for and watch. Erratic Deck is a lot of people's favorite deck just because it kind of does change the game. It makes it so Balatro is actually less or more random than usual. And for some people, that's really fun because it makes it so you want to go for different builds more often than you would, right? Because let's be real here. If you're offered, say, I don't even know. If you're offered 10 twos, right? And like not you don't have much of anything else, you're gonna be like, dude, I'm gonna hard roll for Wii Joker, and I want Wii Joker really badly. Versus if you were offered a bunch of like 8s, you might go, oh, I'm gonna play Fibonacci and 8-ball, right? It lets you actually experience much more of the game, in my opinion, and that's like really cool and something that you wouldn't consider just by thinking about it, right? It's something that's like, oh wait, after playing a couple rounds of it, I'm like, wow, I really do get to just do different things with this deck, and that's fun. Like, I understand why people like it so much. Last, but very, very certainly not least, we have Plasma Deck. Plasma Deck equals out the chips and molt you have and then calculates the score, resulting in a much higher score than you would have had otherwise. This comes at the cost of all blinds being 2 times size. Plasma Deck just is the best deck in the game when it comes to scoring. Nothing else comes close. Nothing even remotely helps scoring in the same way that Plasma Deck does. So say in the early game, right, it's really easy to get a lot of chips, and you'd rather have one side of the equation be way higher because they're going to even out, right? So going for both chips and molt at the same time is actually kind of not that good because of the way Plasma Deck works. So say getting, I don't know, Stuntman, where you get 250 chips, it will then even out for both sides getting 125, because then 125 times 125 is a lot larger than like 250 times like 2, right? It's way higher. You have 1,000 chips and 2 molt. It'll be 501 times 501, which is a lot more than 2,000. It's like 25 something. I don't even know. Yeah, it's like 2,500 or 25,000. Yeah, it's like 25,000 something because of that one. I don't want to do the math. Anyway, it's really good. This is like one of the best way for going for high scores or Nan-Inth. You can go, it's one of the only, I think this is the only deck you can hit Nan-Inth on without like a legendary Joker, without Perkio. You can do it with just good enough cards. I think it is the only way to do it. I could be wrong. Of course, I mean, technically, if you go late enough and you have enough like blueprints, you could probably do it. But it definitely helps a lot because of Plasma Deck. Do note that molt scales better than chips do. Therefore, although it's really funny to have a lot of high chips, you can win Plasma Deck, 8 antes with just chips. You typically want to transition to molt on around ante 6, 7, 8 if you are going to go into endless on Plasma Deck. Because molt just scales better than chips. It just does. And because of the way that Plasma Deck works, it makes it so it scales even better because it will just even out. Rather than being like, oh, well, I could add chips to this side and then it actually scales better than adding only a measly amount of molt. That was a lot of decks to talk about. Thank you guys for watching. If you enjoyed, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. What's your guys' favorite deck? I really do think that mine's just red deck. I love jamming it. I love having more discards. Makes the game feel a little smoother. It's just... when I'm playing the game, I'm playing to have fun. And I want to have the most smooth time getting whatever stupid cards I want. So that's why I want more discards. Anyway, my socials are there on screen or they're down in the description. We're currently, as I am talking, there's a mod actually being made for me. I mean, I didn't really, for my Discord, I guess. It's for a bunch of members in my Discord, like this guy named Nice Cream. He's actually in there. He started making Joker art for people. They look amazing. You could maybe ask him for it. Please don't quote me on that. He might say no. I don't know. But if you like, you could, ask him for it to do one. And there's a mod being made for it. And if you guys are interested in this mod, which so far it looks pretty cool. The art looks very good. Nice Cream did a very, very good job at making these Jokers. And my one of my moderators, Wiz, is actually helping the Nice Cream person to add effects to them to create a mod, and that's gonna be really fun. I'm gonna definitely showcase it on my channel, so if you guys are interested, you can join, talk, and of course everyone's talking about Balatro, talking about Rivals and Hearthstone as well if you are still interested. But yeah, that's gonna be it for me. I will see you guys next time. Peace out.